Welcome back to your Sleepy Time Retreat, a sanctuary of tranquility crafted to gently guide you into a peaceful and restorative slumber. We understand the importance of a good night's rest, and we're here to help you unwind, relax, and prepare your mind and body for sleep. Let the stresses of the day melt away as you settle into this haven of calm, ready to drift off to dreamland. Tonight, we continue our journey through the timeless wisdom and gentle charm of Aesop's Fables, with part 2 of our series. These classic stories, filled with whimsical characters and subtle life lessons, are the perfect companions for a restful night. My soft voice will once again guide you through each tale, creating a soothing atmosphere that will lull you into a deep and restorative sleep. If you missed part 1 of this series, I will link it in the description below. Before we get started, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the Sleepy Time Retreat. Now, let us begin our journey. The Lion and the Mouse. A lion asleep in his lair was waked up by a mouse running over his face. Losing his temper, he seized it with his paw and was about to kill it. The mouse, terrified, piteously entreated him to spare its life. "Please let me go," it cried, "and one day I will repay you for your kindness." The idea of so insignificant a creature ever being able to do anything for him amused the lion so much that he laughed aloud, and good-humoredly let it go. But the mouse's chance came, after all. One day, the lion got entangled in a net which had been spread for game by some hunters, and the mouse heard and recognized his roars of anger, and ran to the spot. Without more ado, it set to work to gnaw the ropes with its teeth, and succeeded before long in setting the lion free. "There," said the mouse, "you laughed at me when I promised I would repay you, but now you see, even a mouse can help a lion." The Ass, the Fox, and the Lion. An ass and a fox went into partnership and sallied out to forage for food together. They hadn't gone far before they saw a lion coming their way, at which they were both dreadfully frightened. But the fox thought he saw a way of saving his own skin, and went boldly up to the lion and whispered in his ear, "I'll manage that you shall get hold of the ass without the trouble of stalking him, if you'll promise to let me go free." The lion agreed to this, and the fox then rejoined his companion and contrived before long to lead him by a hidden pit, which some hunter had dug as a trap for wild animals, and into which he fell. When the lion saw that the ass was safely caught and couldn't get away, it was to the fox that he first turned his attention, and he soon finished him off, and then at his leisure proceeded to feast upon the ass. Jupiter and the Tortoise. Jupiter was about to marry a wife, and determined to celebrate the event by inviting all the animals to a banquet. They all came except the tortoise, who did not put in an appearance, much to Jupiter's surprise. So when he next saw the tortoise, he asked him why he had not been at the banquet. "I don't care for going out," said the tortoise. "There's no place like home." Jupiter was so much annoyed by this reply that he decreed that from that time forth the tortoise should carry his house upon his back, and never be able to get away from home even if he wished to. The Ass in the Lion's Skin. An ass found a lion's skin, and dressed himself up in it. Then he went about frightening everyone he met, for they all took him to be a lion, men and beasts alike, and took to their heels when they saw him coming. Elated by the success of his trick, he loudly brayed in triumph. The fox heard him and recognized him at once for the ass he was, and said to him, "Oh ho, my friend, it's you, is it? I, too, should have been afraid if I hadn't heard your voice." Father and Sons. A certain man had several sons who were always quarreling with one another, and try as he might, he could not get them to live together in harmony. So he determined to convince them of their folly by the following means. Bidding them fetch a bundle of sticks, he invited each in turn to break it across his knee. All tried and all failed, and then he undid the bundle and handed them the sticks one by one, when they had no difficulty at all in breaking them. "There, my boys," said he, "united you will be more than a match for your enemies, but if you quarrel and separate, your weakness will put you at the mercy of those who attack you." The Fir Tree and the Bramble. A fir tree was boasting to a bramble and said, somewhat contemptuously, "You poor creature, you are of no use whatever. Now look at me, I am useful for all sorts of things, particularly when men build houses. They can't do without me then." But the bramble replied, "Ah, that's all very well, but you wait till they come with axes and saws to cut you down, and then you'll wish you were a bramble and not a fir." The she-goats and their beards. Jupiter granted beards to the she-goats at their own request, much to the disgust of the he-goats, who considered this to be an unwarrantable invasion of their rights and dignities. So they sent a deputation to him to protest against his action. He, however, advised them not to raise any objections. "What's in a tuft of hair?" said he. "Let them have it if they want it. They can never be a match for you in strength." The ass and his shadow. A certain man hired an ass for a journey in summertime, and started out with the owner following behind to drive the beast. By and by, in the heat of the day, they stopped to rest, and the traveler wanted to lie down in the ass's shadow, but the owner, who himself wished to be out of the sun, wouldn't let him do that, for he said he had hired the ass only, and not his shadow. The other maintained that his bargain secured him complete control of the ass, for the time being. From words they came to blows, and while they were belaboring each other, the ass took to his heels and was soon out of sight. The blind man and the cub. There was once a blind man who had so fine a sense of touch that when any animal was put into his hands, he could tell what it was merely by the feel of it. One day the cub of a wolf was put into his hands, and he was asked what it was. He felt it for some time, and then said, "Indeed, I am not sure whether it is a wolf's cub or a fox's, but this I know, it would never do to trust it in a sheepfold." The Boy and the Snails. A farmer's boy went looking for snails, and when he had picked up both his hands full, he set about making a fire at which to roast them, for he meant to eat them. When it got well alight and the snails began to feel the heat, they gradually withdrew more and more into their shells with the hissing noise they always make when they do so. When the boy heard it, he said, "You abandoned creatures, how can you find heart to whistle when your houses are burning?" The Dolphins, the Whales, and the Sprat. The dolphins quarreled with the whales, and before very long they began fighting with one another. The battle was very fierce and had lasted some time without any sign of coming to an end, when a sprat thought that perhaps he could stop it, so he stepped in and tried to persuade them to give up fighting and make friends. But one of the dolphins said to him contemptuously, "We would rather go on fighting till we're all killed than be reconciled by a sprat like you." The Farmer and his Sons. A farmer, being at death's door, and desiring to impart to his sons a secret of much moment, called them round him and said, "My sons, I am shortly about to die. I would have you know, therefore, that in my vineyard there lies a hidden treasure. Dig, and you will find it." As soon as their father was dead, the sons took spade and fork and turned up the soil of the vineyard over and over again, in their search for the treasure which they supposed to lie buried there. They found none, however, but the vines, after so thorough a digging, produced a crop such as had never before been seen. The Fisherman and the Sprat. A fisherman cast his net into the sea, and when he drew it up again, it contained nothing but a single sprat that begged to be put back into the water. "I'm only a little fish now," it said, "but I shall grow big one day, and then if you come and catch me again, I shall be of some use to you." But the fisherman replied, "Oh no, I shall keep you now, I've got you. If I put you back, should I ever see you again? Not likely." The Frog's Complaint against the Sun. Once upon a time the sun was about to take to himself a wife. The frogs in terror all raised their voices to the skies, and Jupiter, disturbed by the noise, asked them what they were croaking about. They replied, "The sun is bad enough, even while he is single, drying up our marshes with his heat as he does. But what will become of us if he marries and begets other sons?" The Gnat and the Bull. A gnat alighted on one of the horns of a bull and remained sitting there for a considerable time. When it had rested sufficiently and was about to fly away, it said to the bull, "Do you mind if I go now?" The bull merely raised his eyes and remarked, without interest, "It's all one to me. I didn't notice when you came, and I shan't know when you go away." The lamp. A lamp well filled with oil burned with a clear and steady light, and began to swell with pride and boast that it shone more brightly than the sun himself. Just then a puff of wind came and blew it out. Someone struck a match and lit it again, and said, "You just keep a light, and never mind the sun. Why, even the stars never need to be relit as you had to be just now." The Mistress and Her Servants. A widow, thrifty and industrious, had 2 servants whom she kept pretty hard at work. They were not allowed to lie long abed in the mornings, but the old lady had them up and doing as soon as the cock crew. They disliked intensely having to get up at such an hour, especially in winter time, and they thought that if it were not for the cock waking up their mistress so horribly early, they could sleep longer, so they caught it and wrung its neck. But they weren't prepared for the consequences, for what happened was that their mistress, not hearing the cock crow as usual, waked them up earlier than ever, and set them to work in the middle of the night. The North Wind and the Sun. A dispute arose between the North Wind and the Sun, each claiming that he was stronger than the other. At last they agreed to try their powers upon a traveler, to see which could soonest strip him of his cloak. The North Wind had the first try, and gathering up all his force for the attack, he came whirling furiously down upon the man, and caught up his cloak as though he would wrest it from him by one single effort. But the harder he blew, the more closely the man wrapped it round himself. Then came the turn of the Sun. At first he beamed gently upon the traveler, who soon unclasped his cloak and walked on with it hanging loosely about his shoulders. Then he shone forth in his full strength, and the man, before he had gone many steps, was glad to throw his cloak right off and complete his journey more lightly clad. The Quack Frog. Once upon a time a frog came forth from his home in the marshes, and proclaimed to all the world that he was a learned physician, skilled in drugs and able to cure all diseases. Among the crowd was a fox, who called out, "You a doctor? Why, how can you set up to heal others when you cannot even cure your own lame legs and blotched and wrinkled skin?" The Swollen Fox. A hungry fox found in a hollow tree a quantity of bread and meat, which some shepherds had placed there against their return. Delighted with his find, he slipped in through the narrow aperture and greedily devoured it all. But when he tried to get out again, he found himself so swollen after his big meal that he could not squeeze through the hole, and fell to whining and groaning over his misfortune. Another fox, happening to pass that way, came and asked him what the matter was, and on learning the state of the case said, "Well, my friend, I see nothing for it but for you to stay where you are, till you shrink to your former size. You'll get out then easily enough." I hope you enjoyed these soothing stories from Aesop's Fables. These classic tales with their gentle morals and whimsical characters are the perfect companions for a restful night. If you'd like to experience more calming narratives and bedtime relaxation, don't forget to subscribe to the Sleepy Time Retreat. By subscribing, you'll be notified of new videos designed to help you unwind and drift off to sleep with ease. Until next time, sleep deeply and dream sweetly.